Hey everyone, welcome to the new year. Hope the holiday season has been happy and healthy and everyone's staying safe and doing everything we need to do during this time. And hope you had a good chance to just rest and relax and refresh and get ready for hitting the second half of this school year and the new year. And I know we're all looking forward to what 2021 can bring for all of us. So for this month's newsletter, we just have a couple just system updates to talk about. One of them is ClassLink. They have a new interface update and a couple things I want us all to be aware of with it. And then just a reminder about some spam and phishing attempts that we see constantly coming our way now. And so just some best practices related to that. So let's dive right in. So ClassLink's a resource I think we're all familiar with as we use not only to launch a lot of our curriculum apps, but also be a one-stop shop to get to a lot of our single sign-on things and have our class rosters automatically pass through. Just this past week, they gave us an interface update. So the poster of it or the look and feel of it is slightly updated, but the concepts is still certainly the same, where we can get in here and access all our curriculum resources and the different links and things that we need. The couple things I want us all to be aware of that are features that actually had existed before, but they make them a little bit more accessible in this interface update. The first is that at the top, we have the ability to go into edit mode. Because just like our app screens on our phones and things like that, the amount of apps that we see on here can get a little daunting sometimes. So just simply by going into edit mode, we have the ability to rearrange the icons on the screen. You have the ability to add folders. And so however you want to organize this flow here, you have the ability to do that. They also have some theme and app size and font style and color palette stuff if you want to get a little creative with that as well. And so this is all just from that little edit mode. As soon as you do that, it saves as you go. And so you can customize some of that as you're working through this. The next little bit of customization that is available for us is the ability to use this plus button to actually add apps as well, or add links to it. So if I click on this, what we'll see here is that they have preloaded a lot of links and resources that other school districts have used in the past. And as you know, I'm sure that not all of these we have licensing for as a district, but some of these are just simply free resources that are available. And so whether you search for things up here or click on this HPS staff one that other behavioral educators have added or asked to be added as quick links on here, these are quick ways to add other links to your LaunchPad in ClassLink. And so you can customize this view so that you can have other resources, since this is kind of our one-stop shop for many things now. If you want to add some more bookmarks or some more links to other things, we can do that. Just note that unless we have a district license or agreement with them, things like single sign-on or rostering might not be automatically available. You're kind of on your own to set some of that stuff up, but at least you can get this all in one shape and form. And of course, if you have any questions about that, you can always submit a support ticket and we'll help you out there. The other thing I'd want us all to be aware of, if you're a teacher who has a rostered class, you have this button down at the bottom called the Teacher Console. This is something that has existed before, but they make it a little bit easier to kind of click into and utilize its resources here. And what that Teacher Console does for us is it gives you a overview of your rostered class and the students that you have. And what's gets to be pretty interesting about this is that as we visit one of your classes, they have this sidebar on the left that gives us some insights into what's going on with that class. And the first thing I want to point out is this activity screen that you have. It shows a week's date range by default. And so if I go to a week that has some activity, it simply lists all of your students that are rostered from SchoolBrains. And it shows you how long they've spent navigating in and out of the ClassLink interface. And because ClassLink is the main resource that you're driving your students to, there's some interesting analytics that it can pick up automatically. So for example, if I click on one of these students here, it shows us how much time they spent on the different apps that are in here based on that time range and that day that I clicked on. And so if you have a goal for your students to say, hey, you're supposed to spend so much time in this ST Math or one of these other resources, you can kind of track that as you go and just do some of these quick analytic check-ins. And this is all just from that activity view on the left. The other thing we can do in this teacher console is if I go to the apps screen, I can see all of the apps that are available to my students or available to this particular class. And I actually have the ability to add another one as well. So if I have a specific website or a specific online resource that I want my students to have access to in ClassLink above and beyond what the district has provided, you can click this Add App, and you can either pick from our grid of things here, or you can go ahead and add your own as we saw before. And what's interesting about this is that this makes it available to your class automatically. And so again, play around with this, but if you have any questions, feel free to put in a support ticket. We can help you out from there. And the last thing I wanted to show you in this teacher console is this idea of looking a little bit deeper at your student activity. And so from this students list on the side here, you'll notice that there's a little analytics button across from each one of the students. And if you click on that, we get to kind of do a deeper dive into what is this student doing on their district device and through this ClassLink platform. And so I won't dive real deep in it, but something to play with for sure as you go through. But what I'd pay attention to at first is that there is a date and time range for all of these analytics, but then you can kind of drill a little bit deeper into various things here. So we can see how many times they logged in, just some app totals and things of that nature. If I go to app summary, I can see based on this time range how much time they spent overall in the different applications that they access from ClassLink. So some super interesting stuff as we go through this here, even the ability to kind of change the graphs to show some trends and things as well. So this is on a per student basis that we got to just by going to our teacher console, opening up the students, and then picking a student's little info here. So if you have some scenarios where maybe some students aren't participating the way you would hope to, this can give you some hard and fast data to work with to show login history or some time in apps. Next thing I want to mention this month is this idea of spam or phishing. I think a lot of us are familiar with spam in that we get extra emails flooding our inbox for ads or things we didn't sign up for, or newsletters or different things like that that just come in and kind of bombard our inbox. And so spam is kind of a normal thing that I think we're used to. But one of the things that has come about the last couple of years, especially, is this idea of phishing. With a PH. And what phishing is it's like a spam email in that it's something that comes through, but it's actually pretending to be something that's legitimate. So instead of just being a blatant advertisement for something, it's a way that hackers and robots and things like that out there try to get personal information out of us while under the guise of being something that is legitimate. And so we just want to do a little bit of a public service announcement just to be on the lookout for these types of things. We want to be careful about giving away personal information via email or signing into websites off of a link that we aren't sure what it's really doing. And so to kind of help with that, what we've done in our support ticket area, in our KB or knowledge base, we have an article on here called Spam, Email, and Phishing Attempts. And what this article kind of talks about is the ways you can fairly easily or more straightforward figure out if an email is a phishing email where it's trying to pretend to be something else. And we have a couple keys that we can look at as we're looking at emails. And we actually have an example that happened a few months ago in the district where it looked like our superintendent sent a message out to certain people asking for some interesting information. And there are ways to easily identify that it was not legitimate. And so we talk about the first thing to look for is that in any email that comes from outside of our @haverhill-ps.org email addresses, you're going to see this big warning across the top of it. And so hopefully that warning doesn't just kind of glaze over as we look at our emails now, but we definitely encourage everyone to use that as the main thing to look at when we're not sure if it's legitimate or not. Any official communication is certainly going to come from within our Haverhill email address structure. So if it has a warning, you can know that it's not from an official in-district email address. So that should cause you to have some caution here. The second thing to look for is don't just pay attention to the name that is labeled here, because that label can be spoofed or adjusted or faked with pretty ease these days. And so what can't be as easily faked is the email address it comes from. So you can see, even though this is a legitimate name that we see here, you can notice the email address ends in @gmail.com. And so anytime like a company or a person is sending a message that you're like, I'm not sure if this is the right one, always look at the email address and see how it ends. What is the end of that email? Is it at Gmail or at Verizon or Comcast or AOL or one of these kind of company email addresses that's not an official school district? Or if it's pretending to be from a vendor, from a curriculum company, does it end in that company's email, or is it something else? And so you can always keep an eye on that to see if that makes sense and is legitimate. And so the third thing we'd look for is look for the content of the message to appear a little bit interesting or not normal. And so whether it's the content of the questions or the phrasing and grammar or punctuation or just different things that could seem off, or the language used is weird, or the ask is weird, whatever they're asking you to do, keep an eye on that as well. And then on the same article, we have some reminders about never sharing like password information or social security numbers over email. Anytime it is a spam or phishing message that you didn't ask for, don't click links from it, and certainly don't sign into those websites unless you know for sure it's legitimate. Including the caution of never pay for a service to clean your computer or to buy gift cards for somebody and based on an email or a phone conversation. And then I'll just always delete the message. You don't need to do anything else, any other action, just hit delete. And you can always submit a support ticket if you aren't sure. So, use this 1, 2, 3 setup to look for the banner, look for the email address, kind of, read through the content to see if it makes sense. And then if you're still not sure after that, then just loop us in via a support ticket, and we'll let you know if there's any action needed on your part. All right, that's it for this month. I hope you guys have a good start to this year. Continue to stay healthy and safe, and we'll be around and available as we always are via support tickets or book a training appointment if you want a little bit more hands-on help. We'll see you soon.